Hello, my family. My name is Wallace Miles, and I want to welcome you back to our Huddle Up series, where we look for the lessons that will help propel us forward in life, written by the storytellers of this world. At the beginning of November, we said we were going to read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, a renowned hostage negotiator, in hopes that we could learn a few techniques to help us better maneuver through this life. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Vernon Brown again to gain insight of his understanding of these concepts, as well as understand how he uses them in his personal and professional life. Let me be the first to tell you that this book will help prepare and empower you for the countless negotiations you're going to experience in your lifetime. So without further ado, huddle up.
Just be you, and you'll be unique. You trying to be like him, you must be mystique. So
Hello, people. Welcome back to the Huddle. My name is Wallace Miles, and I'm here again with Vernon Brown. Today we're going to go through Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And I'm really going to let Vernon take the lead on this because this is his favorite book. And once I got into it and knowing who Vernon is, I realized why. So Vernon, why is this your favorite book?
I mean, look at the title. Like, first and foremost, whenever you're negotiating or like if you even buy something on Craigslist, at some point, everybody gets to the point where you're at a price, I'm at a price. Let's split the difference and move on. But as you read the little back cover, the front cover of the book, it's like he's a hostage negotiator. There is no splitting the difference when you're talking about a body. And so
Right.
it's really digging into what truly works, what he's used throughout his whole career. And as you read the book, you find out it's less about negotiating and more just about emotional intelligence. So whether you're trying to get your next salary or you're just trying to understand your spouse, like these are all things that work to help you understand people and communicate more effectively.
And see, like the book starts off with this fake life or death situation. And I'm like, how is this really going to affect my life? Like, it's cool to learn about a hostage situation, but I'm like, how is this going to really affect my day to day? But just like you said, as you go into it, you learn about, I had issues my first time negotiating my car. Like it irritated me to the core. But listening to what he says and how he went about his example, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Next time I go into it, they about to deal with me.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, think like people when you talk about, so my wife's a real estate agent. And so the one part of buying real estate that everybody hates is a negotiation because they think negotiation is this huge, scary thing. But in all reality, it's something that we deal with every single day, whether it's like whether you're a teenager and you're trying to come home later for your curfew, or whether you're like talking to your spouse and y'all trying to figure out what you want to eat. Like you're negotiating literally hundreds of times a day. It's just a matter of, do you call it that or do you just call it life?
and you said that, and I was thinking about like what ways have I been in negotiations that I didn't even realize. And I thought about the best negotiators that I've ever met are babies.
Yeah.
Babies know, like you tell them to do something, no. Now we're gonna figure out how we can both win in this. But no, what you said, nah, we're gonna figure this out.
And I think
that's
like
one of
men.
the points that really hit me was they say negotiations start with no, or no starts the negotiation.
Yeah.
To me, no is like, dang, it's over. But no, that's where you really start to figure out.
Because think about if everybody's saying yes, there's nothing to negotiate. We're just moving along. Yes, yes, yes. But when it's a no, it's like, okay, how are we going to fix this? Am I going to deal with your no? Or am I going to try to change your no to a yes to try to find some middle ground?
Right. So it's a whole lot of concepts in this book. And I want to go through a few just to kind of get the people enticed about it, because they really need to go and read this book themselves. Because I mean, honestly, after you finish reading, I actually read it twice this month. After you finish reading it, I was in it. When you finish reading it, you just want to start using these strategies in your life. I actually use it on my wife. Don't tell her. But
I keep saying it, like negotiation 101 is marriage.
No, bro. I was like, I might have a chance at this thing after reading this book.
Seriously, like emotional intelligence. I think what's the first one? Mirroring,
yeah. How would you express mirroring to somebody that had never heard of the concept?
So mirroring is basically someone asks you a question or someone makes a statement which you may or may not agree with, but you want to get more information about why they said what they said, or if you're using how they kind of talked about it in a book, you kind of want to sow some seeds of doubt to get them on their back foot and start backpedaling. And so all mirroring is saying back what someone said to you in a question, and just letting the silence sit. Like silence is so important. And no matter who you are and who you're talking to, I don't know what happened in society, but we don't like silence. Like
at all. It's like we gotta feel that space.
At my job with like companies and like legit negotiators, and you let that phone get silent, they just get they get uncomfortable. And so I've made just a habit of, I'll say something, I hit that mute button, and we just gonna let this thing ride and see who's gonna talk first. Because silence is so powerful. So for example, if you were to say to me that what's an example? I'm not gonna use this video on my podcast. I don't like it. And so my mirror would be, really? You don't like it?
You don't like it?
So I didn't give up any ground, but now I made you feel real uncomfortable, and
now
almost
I feel like I gotta
came
explain why I don't like it.
Exactly. And I didn't say anything, but I asked the question.
Right. And then when I fill the space with all the jibber jabber that I'm going to, you gain a lot of information.
I'm writing all that stuff down, down. And I mean, think about the position I put you in. You could say, oh, I'm not going to explain it to you, but that makes you sound like a butthole. Like nobody wants to say that out loud. So you have no options but to give me more information. And from that list of information you give me, I can then decide, okay, I want to nitpick at this reason, I want to nitpick at that reason, or I want to dive into something completely different. So it's like the ultimate power move that most people never even realize. Now that's like, I don't want to say the kind of manipulative, but that's kind of the manipulative way to use it. But in your marriage, like how I use the mirror is, my wife will say something and she'll be like, I didn't like what you got for dinner or something like that. And what I would say is, what I hear you saying is, you don't feel like I appreciated you enough to do such and such. So basically I changed the words a little bit, but I'm saying what I heard you say was this in a question form, which kind of takes the edge off of it a little bit if she kind of picked up that I was mirroring her, but it still gets the job done to say, all right, I'm gonna leave this quiet question out here and you tell me what you really meant, versus us kind of just versus me just reacting to what she said negatively and taking it somewhere else.
And I think that's another key to this negotiation thing is managing your emotions and everything. And I feel like mirroring creates a buffer for your emotions. So if one point they say is silence is okay. Mm-hmm. So if you create that space by asking a question that mirrors, now you get a chance to collect your emotions and put it back on the other person. And then at the same time, you get more information. Because my problem is, I'm a doer. So if you ask me a question, you say I did something wrong, my mind goes to fix it. But I don't really have all the information that I need to be effective or efficient with it. So mirroring to me gives me the opportunity to take a second and then you to kind of give me more direction, because I hate doing stuff over and over and it be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, so let's take this to football, and this is your space. So I'm gonna try to make a scenario happen, and I'm gonna rely on you to be like, Vernon, that's stupid. That don't make no sense. I got it. So you at the line, you across the line from a corner, right?
Right.
You say hike. You usually give like a first move to see what the corner is gonna do, right?
Well, the corner didn't say hike, just to let you know.
Lord. Quarterback says hike. And so you're looking at the corner. You usually throw a move out there to see how they're gonna react.
Right.
And so that's almost like your mirror. Like you just threw something out there to kind of give you some time, give you some space so you can survey the situation. They're going to give you some information back, kind of whatever move, and then you're going to counter that and then go into what you planned on doing all along.
And you know what's crazy about what you're saying? The toughest corners to go against are the ones that don't react to that move.
Don't give up nothing.
Don't give any no inkling that you even made a move. They just sitting there looking at you like that.
So think about this with the mirror. If you asked a question and I said, why did you do that? And you said, and you kind of took that approach to that corner that's not giving up anything. Well, what part didn't you understand in a calm tone? Then I'm like, my mirror ain't work.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. I need a second.
Wait, let me go get my book right quick and see what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Stay right here. But I mean, like mirroring was a great initial concept that got my attention. And then he started going into what you said a little earlier, that emotional connection, emotional growth, awareness. And they talked about labeling. Labeling means what to you?
Labeling means calling out what something is. Like and you brought up a huge point about like you can't react, you can't like fly off the handle when things happen in negotiation or in any of these situations. So it's kind of easier in negotiation, like he was talking about just a little bit, because you're over a phone, so you don't got to worry about your whole facial reaction. You got time.
We're gonna get to that too.
Repeat that. I lost the connection. But when you in front of somebody, it's a little bit different. Like it takes a whole nother level of discipline. But when you're talking about labeling, it's literally calling out what you think you hear. So let's say if you got really upset, it was like, man, you're a jerk. I could say, well, it sounds like you're calling me a jerk because you didn't like that I was asking for more money. And so the idea is for me to call out what I see in you, but call it out in a way that allows me to kind of almost jabbing a knife in between your ribs around, this really don't make no sense. Like, it sounds like you think I'm a jerk just because I'm trying to get what I feel I'm worth. Do you not feel I'm worth that?
You compounded two concepts right there. You put mirroring back in the play in there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But see, I feel like connecting with people brings the status quo to like an even level. And that's it seems like that's what he was trying to go to me with label, like, you're mad, I got you. Like, you know, that little kid, like, you mad? But,
you mad, bro?
But it's like, what I see is that you're mad. And I can understand why you're mad. Okay, now we're even. Now, how do we proceed? Because one person being mad and then me either throwing it back or disregarding what they're saying, it's just going to escalate the situation even further. But if I tell you that I understand that you're mad and I can see why you're mad, it kind of decreases that fire that's building up. Like, all right.
Yeah, because why do people get mad? People get mad because they don't feel like they're heard. They don't feel like they're understood.
Right.
Like, if you're arguing with somebody, it's not because you left the cabinet open or because you, like, you know, did something to them. It's because they don't feel like
I told you to do that before and you didn't do it. Yeah,
I feel like you don't.
I don't think you're listening to me.
Exactly. But one key thing I want to call out here is this is about negotiation. But the first two tactics we talked about were focused on who? Focused on the other person. We haven't talked about anything about us trying to get what we want. Right. And so that's really key. Like, this is where I kind of say it leans towards emotional intelligence, because all this is not about talking and getting my point across. It's about leaning in to understand where you're coming from so that we can get a mutually beneficial decision here.
And he kind of said, I think what he said in the beginning of the book was that negotiation is about, what did I write down? It's a process of discovery. So it's not about me trying to force you to do what I want you to do or pay me what I want you to pay me. It's about me discovering information in a way that I hate the word manipulate, but I like the word defend. I can defend myself against what you're trying to impose on me. I can defend myself the best I can with all the information. That's the goal, is to get the information.
Exactly.
See, I was reading.
It only took you 2 tries, right?
Man, it was deep, man. The stories, the imagery, and like just trying to take that high level thinking that he was giving and trying to implement it in my own life and try to see it how I can use it. It took that second listen. So
I think the big thing for me was, like, as you go through the book and you kind of look at your life and situation that didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and kind of think about, how could I use this skill to make that situation better? So, you know, rather than me flying off the handle and firing that girl one time, what happens if I would have asked or mirrored her or labeled it? Would that have brought tensions down a little bit so that we could have a meaningful conversation versus her being upset, me not understanding why, and just reacting because she put me in that place?
Man, you got me thinking about back when I was a player. It was instances where I either went off on a coach or a coach went off on me, and neither one of us left with any understanding. But if either one of us would have tried to use our emotional intelligence to understand what the other person was thinking, what they were trying to do, what they were trying to express, I could have grew from that moment. They could have grew as a coach. Yeah. But we went off in our separate directions pissed.
One of the things my mom had instilled in me, like, growing up, was that you never know what people are going through at home. Like, so often when people, like, react negatively to us or get upset, like, we immediately think, oh, they're stupid, they flying off the handle for whatever reason. But she was always a big person that was like, what happens if like they left the house this morning and their spouse wanted to divorce them? Or what happens if their kid like died in a car crash last night? Why do we assume it's all about us when, you know, we're just 10% of the life of this person? They probably got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So why can't we build the discipline of giving people the benefit of the doubt and just saying, you know what, I could get upset about this, but maybe they have something else going on. And even if they don't, why do I want them to drag me down with them?
Man, your mother, she was on it, man.
Man, she be spitting some wisdom.
To teach a 5-year-old that, man, I'm surprised you understood though.
You got
but no, that's deep to be ingrained into someone in their developmental years. Because it is, I mean, I myself leave the house and I got so much more on my mind. And the first thing I do at 7 o'clock in the morning, somebody brings an issue with me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have to be able to choke it down and handle it professionally, but you never know what anybody's going through.
Exactly.
And for her to try to instill that to you in your youth, that's deep. So big ups to your mother for real.
She deserves them.
Yeah, dealing with you. All right, so let's get to that. What I brought up a little earlier. I mean, babies to me are the best example of it, but no is the beginning of the negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you've had experience with high-level negotiations in business. How does no work for you in that realm? But then how does it work for you outside of work in your everyday life?
So for example, I used to work for a company and we were doing like a huge negotiation. Basically, we were going to, it was an airline, and they wanted to install this technology that had never happened before, like in the plane. Yeah. And so we're negotiating this project. And so the big thing is, like you said, is trying to understand what they want and what we want. They want the things installed. They want to know that if anything goes wrong, that we're going to stand behind it. And we want their cash, and we want the ability to put their logo on a page to say we did this for them. So when we start negotiating and risk comes up, like, so what happens if one of these planes falls out the sky and it's our fault for installing this piece of technology? Well, we don't want that risk, and they don't want that risk. So that's the first no. So really what we did at the time before I even read this book was we had to think about what are you willing to walk away? Like what issues will make it possible for you to walk away? What are your deal breakers? Because anything else other than, like, you deal with the deal breaker very specifically. He talks about it in the book. If there's a deal breaker, you drop your tone really low and just say, we don't do that. Just point blank period. Point blank period. But if there's a glimmer or an opportunity for you to escalate to another leader and maybe get it through, you don't take that approach. That's when no starts the negotiation, to where that's not something we usually do. You take a softer approach, but you let them know that there's still a glimmer of light where we can work through this. But that's how I would deal with it at work. But when you're talking about at home or somewhere else,
it's a little different.
It's a lot different. You know, I can say no and walk away at work. At home, when I wake up, they still gonna be there.
They still looking at you like.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't, and it sounds crazy, but there's not a lot of no's in my household. Like, there's not a lot of situations where I'm just like, no, this can't happen. Now, and just kind of some background on how our house is set up. Like, we kind of believe that it's like 51-49, if that makes sense. So if push came to shove and there was something I felt really passionate about, and I was like, no, we're not going to do it, I could reach up on the shelf, grab that 1% and be like, nah. And I would like to believe that she would be like, if that's important to you that much, cool. But for the most part, 99% of the time, we should be able to get to some sort of agreement, you know, once cooler heads prevail, to get us on the same page. So I don't think there's been many things that I've just been like, I don't care what you say. Nah, we're not going to do this. Like, I can't.
But you do say no, because, like, to me, like, I'm a dreamer, but I'm also like conservative. So my wife does a great job of bringing these great ideas. They're like, they're gonna work at some point. But how soon and how it happens, I gotta nip it in the bud early, because and she hates it. I mean, and I can imagine why. Like, she had this great idea, this thought, and she comes to me and I say no. But I know if I say yes right now, I know what I'm getting myself into. Yeah. I'm wearing the brown shoe when I want to wear a black shoe.
Yeah.
That's another thing inside the book. But with us, I say no. Most of the time it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start to do my background, my research, my understanding of how and why. And then we kind of ease our way. And normally it happens a little bit after when she wants to. But it's like us meeting, I hate to say in the middle ground, but at least we negotiate where we're both going to receive the full value of what's possible, and not at a detriment to our household.
So here's a question for you, because it sounds like in the way you laid it out, it's like step 1 is the ask, step 2 is the no, step 3 is quiet research, and then step 4 is you guys coming to some sort of agreement. How has that changed after reading the book? Are you still like, no, nip it in the butt, and I'm gonna go read secretly and then try to do some research, or there's some better communication you think that could happen there?
Actually, I feel stronger in my resolve.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Did we read the same book?
but see, this is why though. Like for me, this like at first it was like I'm saying no, but why am I saying no? I'm scared. I'm afraid of what we're jumping into. But now I understand. I'm saying no because right now I don't have any say in this. It's just her bringing this idea, do it. No, and this isn't everything. This is just major things.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's a time for us. To me to do my mirroring. You really want to do that?
Yeah.
My leave the space open so she can evaluate, do I want to do it, or how is it going to get done? And then we can move towards something that works. But to say yes from jump, man, it's like jumping in the middle of the ocean.
But think
like
about right there.
In.
Think about what you just said right there. I think that is why the book exists, because we think it's either yes or no as the only two options. But there's not. There's yes, no, there's information gathering in the middle. Like you can have a negotiation where you spend weeks, months just gathering information. And so I don't think it's so black and white to say either say yes or either say no. It's like, okay, well, let's live in this middle ground until we figure it out. And like kind of go down the path you said where we're, mirroring, we're labeling, we're pulling more information out. So eventually when we get to that do or die point, we're ready to go. Because even if like going back to the job scenario where we're negotiating, when you bring up something like risk, it's not, okay, yes, we're going to accept that term or no. It's, well, what risks do you want us to take? How can we split this risk up? What are the different scenarios in which we need to think about? What are the lawyers saying? What are the business units saying? So there's a whole lot of information gathering on just one topic. And so nobody's even thinking about striking it or keeping it when we first start that conversation. We're going to spend the next week diving into what exactly does this mean the way it's written? How can we rewrite it? What?
I said we're checking on this. To see in work for me, like people throw out these things all the time. Oh yeah, we'll do that. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. But if you don't ask, if you don't say set that boundary of no to get the opportunity to work it out, to understand who's like. I mean, we got I work in construction, so a lot of subs, their work ties into each other. But who's responsible to the bonding point? Yeah. So. And if I say this sub got it, they're gonna say no. I ask this sub, they're gonna say no. From once we get to that point, now we work out. All right, in these certain situations, then you're gonna have to take this responsibility because your product overlaps, so your product is the last to go in, and we work it out. But if they just say yeah, then they take whatever responsibility that comes.
But I think you stumbled into principle 3, which is anchoring.
Yeah.
And so basically the concept of anchoring is if you've ever had somebody like lowball you for some sort of service. So I have a photography business, and somebody would be like, hey, would you do a photo shoot for $29.99? I'm like, no. But what anchoring would be is for somebody to walk up to me and be like, hey, I really love your work. I want to do a photo shoot with you, but I just don't have any money. All I can give you is $40-$50. Now, because they spent all that time doing that preamble, I'm thinking it's gonna be like 22 cents. But then when they tell me it's $40-some, it's like, oh, that's not as bad as I was expecting. And so for your example, where you're talking about construction, when you're talking to those subs and they're like, no, that's almost like anchoring on their part. So we're anchoring at no. So now you have to fight for every little thing back versus if you anchor the versus if you were to anchor the conversation and be like, yeah, I was under the impression that you guys were going to manage this throughout the whole process. Well, they can't say no because that was your expectation. And you're technically their boss in that conversation. So, it's almost as if
I'm learning.
You getting out negotiated and you don't even know it.
Yeah. No, I mean honestly, I've seen in my boss, my immediate boss. He's amazing at it. So I'm learning from him. But yeah, that's something that I've seen is like coming from regular living. You come direct at somebody, and somebody says no. You like, okay. Well, now,
Yeah.
But now after reading this book, I understand that there's steps past no. It's not a period. It's really like a comma and then or a semicolon. Like, all right, now these things are possible in the conversation.
And the yes or no on people's part is the easiest part. Like so many people just aren't comfortable with negotiations. And so the fact that you're even going to start negotiating puts you in such a more powerful position. Like just to be able to be comfortable with silence, just to be able to be comfortable with treating no as a comma is going to be something that throws so many people off their game to where they're going to be like, I don't, okay, whatever you say, because they're just going to be uncomfortable with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
now, that's one thing. That's one thing he said though. Is people are uncomfortable with silence, but then they uncomfortable with what they perceive as confrontation. Like if you say no, now I feel like you're affronting what I'm wanting to do, and I feel like I want to fight back. When really all we're doing is starting the conversation for real.
And it may honestly be a shortcoming of, I don't want to call it a whole country, but maybe America. Because when you go overseas, like bartering is just commonplace. There's not a thing you don't buy that you don't negotiate for. So, you take your happy-go-lucky self overseas to a little market and you come out with less money than you started with.
Because they going to get you.
Yeah, I remember we were in China one time buying some sunglasses or something. And we would tell this woman, she'll say, how much do you want to pay? And we'd be like, $25. She'd be like, oof. You drive a hard bargain. What I can do is this. And we'll say no lower. Oof. And it was this whole dramatic thing she would do.
That
was how she negotiated.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. I mean, all that emotion you just showed kind of takes me to the next concept that I want to go into is that 7-38-55.
Mm-hmm. So
what Chris Voss was saying in the book is 7% of what you communicate is your words. 38% is your tone. And then the 55% is your body language. And you just doing, ooh, it's different if she was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's a different effect.
Yeah.
It creates a different feeling in the person. So talk a little bit about how you have either used or how you view that concept of 7-38-55.
So and I keep going back to marriage because like this is, to me, it's the weirdest, but it's the biggest marriage book I ever read. It's the craziest relationship book.
I hear you.
But it's like, being a person that debates, like I enjoy debating. When we're talking about something, it's my first reaction to start picking it apart and be like, that don't make sense, that don't make sense, this don't make sense, this don't make sense. Now, if you were to say something like the sky is green, and I'd be like, why do you think the sky is green? You'll probably feel some kind of way, like I just called you stupid. Exactly. But if I were to say, looking up at the sky, what makes you see it as green? That's a whole different conversation. And so naturally, I'm a stupid. Why do you think it's green? That's who I am naturally. So for me to survive in life right now, I got to check myself and be able to communicate it with a better tone.
I know you, and I've seen those reactions. Have you, after reading that book and that concept, have you tried to work that into your relationship? I know work is kind of easy to control yourself. I don't know what it is. Maybe the emotional connections out there.
Yeah, because you don't care. It's not. It sounds bad, but you really don't care.
Yeah, I care, but I don't care. But how have you been able to try to work on those things outside of your work life, in your interpersonal life?
My biggest tool is the mirror, like to be able to put the brakes on a conversation, give myself a minute to get it under control is the only way I'm able to do that. So if you ask me a crazy question, it's the mirror and the labeling. And so for me, it's like, so what I think I hear you saying is such and such. So what that does is any emotion I had to what you said, it basically says, put that on pause until we really know what she said. Like, did she really say what we thought she said? Right. And if she really said it, then I can act a fool. But more times than not, it's like, she didn't really even think about where I took it in my mind.
Right. You ever seen this? It's a Disney movie, and I honestly can't think of the name of it, but it's about this little girl and these little characters live inside of her head. And the dad has the same kind of characters. And when the mom looks at him, all the characters are like, what's going on? What does she want? But when they figure out that whatever's going on, they all blow up. But they took a second, they was looking around like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What does she want? That's kind of what we have to do is like, all right, let me make sure I understand what I'm receiving right now. And I don't want to put you off in my response. So let me mirror you. Let me anchor you. Let me label what's going on. So then I can make it.
That's the emotional intelligence that we don't get taught. Like, I mean, think about the fact that you say something crazy to me, and my immediate thought would
Bernie,
be,
you got a big head, man.
Right. You say something crazy like that, and my first thing is like, not how you made me feel, but let me better understand what you said. That's not something that's taught anywhere. We're taught that if it makes me feel a certain way, I respond a certain way. I got to be real, or I got to be 100.
You're not taught to want to understand any further than what's in front of our faces. I mean, you said a great point earlier, is that it's something else going on beneath most people's layers. And you not understanding and just responding, all you're going to do is put fire on fire. Yeah. But if you try to use the negotiation skills that Chris Voss is teaching us in this book, you kind of get an opportunity to step back, and understand why you feel a certain way. Because, I mean, let's be honest, my wife has said some stuff that's been really simple. Yeah. But I was like, what's going on? Why are you attacking me? But if I take a second to want to understand, to want to see where she's coming from, then I can help get myself to that level. We get in that even playing field and we can grow instead of just reacting to each other, which is never good in any kind of relationship.
And the biggest teacher in that example is when you grow up. So whether it's your parents, whether it's a coach, whether it's a teacher, if you ever have the opportunity to go back and ask those people who kind of made some of those more pivotal, maybe even negative decisions in your life that you didn't like, and be like, what were you thinking here? What was happening here? 9 times out of 10, there's something you didn't even understand or didn't even know was going on that was the reason why they responded that way. And you just, I mean, you may have been collateral damage, you may have been primary damage, but like until you go back or until you ask the question to say, is this really what you mean? Or is this really about me leaving the cabinet open? Or is this about something else? Like, that's when you really get to know people.
I need to go talk to some high school coaches, man. I had a rough time in my head at that point. But I didn't even think to ask or try to understand. I was just stuck in, they did this to me, so I'm mad.
And you know what they're going to say? Well, we saw something in you. And that changes the whole dynamic of, I thought you were just making me run these laps. I thought you just want me to do push-ups because, Wallace, you got a bird chest. Like, but nah, they saw something in you.
I was trying to fly away, man. That's crazy because I actually had a coach who, and this is where like perspective and growth changes things, because I had a coach tell me like, if I stop talking to you, that's when you got a problem. Yeah. And as a young player, I used to think that he's always beating up on me, always fussing at me because he don't like me or I'm doing something wrong all the time. But he really wanted me to reach my potential. That's what I'm telling myself now. But yeah.
That's how it made it make sense. Okay.
But coaches, you have to get pushed. And we talked about this in our last talk. You have to get pushed outside of your limits to reach what you can be. And that's what they were trying to teach me. But I was so stuck in my head. I wasn't even thinking about negotiating to understand what's going on. Man, I'm having a moment here.
Don't start crying on us, brother. Don't start crying.
I don't do those. Okay. So now I got something that I think is a little funny. You brought up the different tones, and you brought up the late night DJ voice. Which one do you use the most? There's a late night DJ voice, there's a positive, playful voice, and then there's a direct, assertive voice. Which one of those do you use the most? And then can you demonstrate them for us?
Oh my God. So it depends. Like at work is definitely late night DJ. Yeah. No, wait, I'm lying. At work is definitely playful. Yeah. At home it's definitely late night DJ. Because a lot of times whenever we have issues at home, it will be so fake for me to be like, hey, how's it going? Like, what are you thinking about this? That's not me. Because there's to me, and the way I look at work, like my job, it's important. Yeah, it's super important that I bring home a check. But at the end of the day, the decisions that are made, I probably should, but I don't take those personally. I deal with those as it's work. And so when I leave, I mean, it didn't really change my life whether we got 5 million or 2 million or 1 million. Like, we got the deal closed. Like, I'm happy. I don't have a personal vested interest. Like, you know, how some people like take on the business as their own. Sadly, I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm good at what I do, but it's just like at the end of the day, I still got paid and the deal got done. We're in good shape. Whereas at home, I can't fake that jovialness because like I'm usually legit upset. Like I'm not happy about something that happened. So it's easier for me to go from mad to late night DJ. Just, you know, so help me understand exactly what you're saying here. Like something like that to slow it down, to draw it out.
I see.
That's easier to go to than like completely fake, super happy.
Yeah. No, I got you. I don't think you have to demonstrate the direct assertive. All of us have heard that from our parents at some point. So that's, you don't have to show me that one. But I see that late night DJ. I'm gonna have to use that one. I like it, man. But that kind of goes back to a portion of communication where at 7:38, 55, and that 38. I mean, though it's not the largest, it's an important. I mean, it's more than a third of the reception. So you being able to control your tone in certain situations to achieve a certain goal, to me, is phenomenal. That's something that I'm trying to work on because, you know, I'm always happy-go-lucky and I need to slow it down sometimes. Drop the. You know.
Every time I hear that 738 though, it's just baffling that 7% are the words. Like 7% is the words that you say. That's crazy. So that means if I'm over the phone, then body language is out. Like you're dealing with the even smaller pie.
Yeah, but they said that if you're on the phone and you're trying to use that positive smiling voice, is to smile, and a person can kind of feel that through the phone, even though it probably comes out in your voice. They can feel that positive body language.
Have you tried that?
Through the phone. Have I tried it? Oh yeah, I do it all the time, man.
Be on the phone just grinning.
I'm silly, bro. All right. So the last concept that I want to go into, which to me is like the final act, the big hurrah, is the Black Swan.
Man.
When I first heard, I was like, ooh, it was a movie about that, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But to you, what is a Black Swan, and how and why? Well, why is it effective?
I get really deep on this for no apparent reason, but so to me, the Black Swan of the relationships I have, I think of it as the essence of the relationship. So to me, I could say something crazy, and you know, I'm always saying something crazy just to get reactions out of people. But I can say something crazy, and you can get upset about that. Right. And to me, the fact that you got upset when everybody else is laughing, that's a Black Swan. And unless I understand and call that Black Swan out, do I really know you? Like, are we really friends? Like, what do we like? Do we really know each other? Or are we just like people that brush elbows? So to me, like whenever I'm talking to somebody, you know, I'm long-winded. I like to get to understand people. Like I didn't know it was called a Black Swan, but that's what I'm searching for. I'm searching for those foundational elements that inform all of your decisions that really kind of jump out from around the corner when you're not looking. And it's like, oh wait, what was that? Like when you're talking about something and somebody just start bursting out in tears and you was like, we was just talking about Flavor Flav. Like what is laughing. Going on?
What the heck happened? No, that's real. And I felt that in communicating with you. Like they use the word religion. And then initially when you hear religion, it's like Christian, Buddhist, Muslim. But then they come back, it's like, no, the core values, the root of the person. Exactly. If you get wind of that, then you can truly, because like at the beginning of the book, they said we're trying to connect on a level. If you get wind of what the person that you're negotiating with core values, the root of who they are, then you can really connect and really find a way to get to a level of agreement, or try to find where negotiation is best suited for you, but also in connecting with that person.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that word religion and how they use it is really key because it's like it's not, like you said, it's not how they choose to believe is their core value. So, for example, a person's religion may be I don't trust nobody. Right. And that can inform an entire negotiation because you trying to get them to spend a couple $1,000s with you and lock them up for a 2-year subscription. and they don't trust you, that ain't gonna happen. But if
Right.
you knew that why that was or how they came to be, then you would understand I'm probably gonna lose this negotiation until I like break
Right.
up off that subscription process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, trying to find those things, and the scenario was crazy in which he brought it up. You guys can read it to find out more about what happened. But it's basically, you know, we expect something to go a certain way, and it goes completely different, not just because it's random, not just because it's an outlier, but because there's a piece of information that we didn't know. So like if you called me, like, and I'm usually happy-go-lucky, and I'm just like, bro, what you want? Like, you'd be like, whoa, that's not
What's
you.
going
Like,
on,
what's
man?
going on?
Yeah. I want to know that deep stuff that's going on that changes you. Like,
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
that?
And I mean, we all have them in our lives. Like, there are all experiences. And I think the pursuit of our lives is in some cases to figure out and understand what those things are, even in ourselves. But, you know, as we're still functioning in society, it's other people's job to kind of figure those things out too. If they want to gain your trust, do business with you, do something in which you get an expected outcome based upon working with someone. Those things can pop up at any time.
Man, like when I read about that, I started thinking about people that I possibly have offended, or I felt like I offended them, and I didn't understand. Like, honestly, we keep bringing back marriage. Like, sometimes I don't understand why my wife reacts to certain things.
Yeah.
But she grew up a completely different way, and she's got some deep values that are completely different than me. And if we start to understand that about people that we interact with, then we can really get to a connective point. We can really understand and have real conversations to grow from. Like, I mean, taking out of the negotiation phase, just trying to be better people in this world is understanding. That's where a lot of fear stems from, is not understanding somebody. But if you take the time, the effort to try to get to the root of who and what they're about, then I feel like we can grow from there. I mean,
you can actually be successful. I'm a super competitive person, and my wife is not. Like, it's just no competition built in her. So to me, when we first,
I'm in the same boat.
So when we got married, like, we would be doing stuff, like we would have fitness goals, we would have career goals, and I'm like, all right, let's compete, let's see who can make the most money.
Right.
And she's just like, for what? Like, nah. Or it's just like, if we were talking about fitness, like, let's have a biggest loser competition, like based upon body fat percentage. And she would just shut down and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I could either like keep trying to shove it down her throat and get nowhere, or I could try to be like, well, why? Like, why is this not working? And try to get to the bottom of it. Oh, you were never competitive because you grew up in a single household. And you ain't have to like compete against nobody to get nothing. Like, those are the black swans that keep popping out. And so, you know, once you understand those things, then it's like, if I'm trying to get her to do something, it's not going to be set up a competition if I want it to work.
No, that's deep though, and I feel like people in authority and people on their rise both need to understand that. Like, that's, if you can understand the person that you're dealing with, the roots of who they are, and that's why they say in business, like, most of it is relationships. I understand you. I trust you. I understand what your why is. Now we can do business together because I align with that. And like
I said, we talked a lot about relationship today, but this is friendship. This is, you know, football field, teammates. This is teacher relationships. Like, if there was one thing I could change in the world, like, and I'm serious about this, is the question, hey man, how you doing? How's it going? Like, and it, like, so at work,
it just be good.
Yeah, like at work, you're walking toward each other. Hey, how's it going? And by the time they answer, you already passed them going on your way. You ain't really asking them how they doing.
Right.
And so I try to make it a point to be like, hey, how you doing? Pause. Let's hit the mute button. Let's be silent. And I'm gonna wait for your answer. And if I think you lying, I'm gonna be like, well, that didn't sound convincing at all. And see what you say. Like, because I feel like so many people are going through so much and they want to talk, but just nobody cares. Yeah, but nobody, like, everybody's so on pins and needles and doesn't want to get in people's business. Now I'm gonna get in your business. Like, what's going on? Like, you look different. You look like you had a rough day.
Because I care.
Yeah, because I care.
That has to be the backing of it. Because I do know some manipulative people that try to dig up.
Be like, oh, I need some content for me to.
I need some talk to my friends about. Nah, but it has to come from a heart of I care. I want to know. It's not that I'm trying to blow your life up. It's I care about you, man.
Yeah.
Let me know what's going on.
Absolutely.
You okay? You okay, Vernon?
I'm good.
Man, is there anything else that you would like to hint at for people? Because I still want people to go out and read this book. I know we talked about a lot of concepts, a lot of how we receive the book. But is there anything else you would like to give the people before we head out in?
Man, I think like no matter where you are in life, just like negotiation is a skill that you need. And the better you are at it, the better your life's going to be because of it. Like, so one of the things that I went through when I graduated from college was negotiating for my first job. So I did a bunch of interviews or I did a bunch of internships the years before. And so I had a few job offers lined up. Texas, one was in Michigan, but I actually went up there to interview in the wintertime. I was like, I am not going to Michigan.
Not doing that.
In DC and here in Atlanta. And so the first decision I had to make out of college was which one of these jobs I was going to take. And the job I wanted to take here in Atlanta was not paying as much as the one in Arkansas with Walmart or in Texas with another company. So it was like, I want the Atlanta job for obvious reasons. I'm a single Black man. Like, come on now. I want that job.
I want that job.
But so my first big thing was to call this dude up, Vice President of Mobility Solution Services, and start negotiation by saying no. He said, I want to offer you a job, sir. And I said, no, that's not enough money. Now he's talking to a college kid, ain't never had a job. And I'm turning down
big, man.
The most money I've ever made. So what did he say? Okay. And I didn't hear from him from another 2 months. So I'm freaking out. Like, did I lose this job? Do I need to go get these other jobs? And it just happened to come back around, like eventually, where he was like, yeah, I had to go get some approvals. I probably should have talked to you more. But he was playing a silent game. He was like, I was going to see if he was going to call and break the ice. If he was going to take it, I would have took it. And, you know, he would have been like, oh, cool. I could just cancel this request to get you a bigger salary. Because it's all about the money when you come down to it. And so fast forward, eventually I got the job at the salary I wanted. But where it really matters is a lot of people don't think negotiation matters. When you get into these corporate jobs, a lot of times they cap how much you can make as a promotion each year.
Right.
So let's say I started out at even numbers, let's say I started out $10 a year, and they have a rule in place where you can only make 3% more per year. So that's $10, that's $13, that's $16, that's $19 every year. Well, you'll never catch up because everyone has the same cap. So if I didn't negotiate an extra $20,000
on the front end,
$20,000, there's no way I could ever catch up. So negotiation is so important because where you start matters. It's not a matter of just let me take this job and I deal with it later. And if you have to do that, cool. But as much as your qualifications and your skill set and your tenacity and your belief in yourself allow you to, you have to play that game because you'll never catch up otherwise. So I stayed at that company from 2011 to 2018. If I wouldn't have negotiated, I would have been 20,000 behind the entire time. Negotiation matters.
5 years, that's 100,000.
That's $100,000 cash, man.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah.
So it matters, and like I said, no matter where you are, the big thing is just, and I don't think they talk about it in the book. It all comes down to you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you are valuable, and you have to believe that you're worth it. Because if not, you're not going to be able to sit there with the phone on silent. You're not going to be able to sit silent for 2 months and believe it's going to come back. Yeah. So it's like it all comes down. Like all these tools and tips are cool, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. So you may have to do some soul searching to say, you know, what am I worth? Do I feel like I'm worth it? Do I truly believe that when the rubber hits the road? Because when you hit that, when you say no, you know, there's always a chance of them walking away. And that's a very real reality. Am I okay with this job going away and never coming back because I want what I'm worth? If that answer is no, I'm not okay with losing this job. Cool. You know, it's a job. Take what you need. Like that may be where you are right now. But if you are okay with possibly not getting this job, then or whatever, not achieving whatever you want to achieve and then walking away because you think you're worth more, then that's when you're ready to start this.
Man, I'm not saying nothing else. Because, I mean, that wasn't in the book, but if you throw that knowledge, I hope people listen all the way to the end of this because if they bring that into reading this book, man, it's a whole nother level. Because that belief thing,
Man,
I don't even know if I don't know if I can say no. Then I don't know if I can sit 2 months. Like I got a story about me. I got cut from Detroit.
Mhm.
And my mind is like, okay, what do I do now? I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance. So I rushed to Canada. Detroit called me back a month after they cut me and said, we can't sign you because you signed with a Canadian team and played a game.
Wow.
I'm like, man. But
Wow.
I was not strong enough,
Yeah.
or I didn't have enough belief in myself to wait. I thought I had to get back on the field immediately. But you saying, man, if I could take that, if there's anything out of this entire talk, I'm gonna take that with me. On
And
top
one more
of
thing,
reading
like,
that
how
book.
do you do that? Only way I was able to do that is I had at that time my parents behind me saying, "No, you're worth it. Stay in your ground. No, you're worth it. Stay in your ground." It doesn't
Man,
have
that
to be your
support system,
parents, because your
man.
parents may not believe in you, but you got to get you a tribe around you that can
Right.
speak some life into you, that understands who you are, understands your value. It can call that out of you when you get weak, because we all gonna get weak. Like, we all gonna second guess ourselves. But for somebody to say, "Nah, it's gonna come back around. No, you're gonna get another opportunity. Like, just sit here and wait. It'll come," because that'll be what you need to hear in those moments. Because, like I said, when the rubber hits the road, it's real rubber and it's real road, and it's just you and it that got to deal with it.
A whole lot of friction.
Exactly.
No, man, that was amazing. We're gonna come to a close today. Vernon, I truly appreciate the time you took. I appreciate your thoughts. This is another the Huddle signing out. Change your cleats, man. Change your life. Believe in yourself, and go read that book. Never Split the Difference.
Absolutely.
Just be you, and you'll be unique. You trying to be like him.